We are in the Gospel of John. This is the heart of what we're supposed to get to. This is why we have this fourth book. We've noticed some differences in the Gospel of John along the way. John said, you need to know some stories about Jesus that you don't get in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And so he told us some unique encounters, like the man that came to see him at night, and the man that was healed, that didn't even ask to be healed, and the man that was born blind that was healed, and some other stories that we've seen along the way. But this is the heart of what he's trying to get at. We have 4 chapters of Jesus teaching that we don't have in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. This is what John wanted his hearers to hear. This is the heart of something that we're missing about Jesus. And so we need to pay attention to it. In chapter 15, actually we're going to go back up one sentence in chapter 14. Come now, let us leave. What we have is a change of venue. But Jesus is going to continue his teaching to the same group of people that he had together with him on the Last Supper. And in the book of John, we don't even have a mention of the Last Supper. We have a mention of him being the servant and washing their feet. Now, they're leaving this upper room. They're going someplace. We know where they're going, don't we? Where are they headed? They're going to the garden of Gethsemane. So, en route, because later we're going to see them in the garden and find out that Judas knows where they are. We know that already. But we've got that little sentence to say that Jesus said, let's go. And so they are now following Jesus someplace. And I suspect it's someplace that has some vines. So, let's read chapter 15, verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he trims clean, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourself to be my disciples. Do you think that they're anywhere near some vines and branches? Jesus has often picked out things in nature to teach them lessons called parables. And as they're walking along, they must have seen some branches that have been cut off and are ready to be burned. They must have seen some vines that have branches attached to them which have fruit, right? And we think naturally of grapes, thing on the front of your order of worship. Okay? We don't grow many grapes around here. But that was a big deal in the area around Jerusalem. Now, he's saying, let's learn something. You need to remain in the vine. If you want to bear grapes, you've got to stay in the vine. Pretty straightforward. You're not in the vine, then you are trimmed off and you die, and then you're picked up and burned, and that's that. Easy story, right? Then he says, I am the vine. And really all you've got to do is remain in me. Just stay attached to me. And if you do that, you'll bear much fruit, proving to be my followers. If you don't remain in me, then you're like the branches that are going to be picked up later on. This is the heart of what John's readers needed to hear. There were some people in Asia Minor, some churches there, that have gone off another path and they were leaving Jesus behind. He just wasn't that important. Well, that's not us, is it? We're not like that. I mean, we're the church of Christ, right? We are the Christian church. We're disciples of Jesus. It's not possible that we could leave Jesus behind. It's not possible that we could let go of our Savior. This has nothing to do with us. I'm afraid it does. I'm afraid it does. It's a lesson that we need to hear over and over and over. It's a lesson that we need to give each other throughout the year, throughout the week. We just need to encourage each other to keep in Jesus. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Do what you do because of Jesus. And we need to be careful not to add something else. He didn't say you need to remain in me and you need to remain in me and you need to do great and marvelous works. You need to remain in me and be the most prosperous group of people in the world. No, he didn't say that. You need to remain in me and be sinless. We'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? So what's it mean to just remain in Jesus? Well, a lot of this has to do with what it means to bear fruit. And this is a huge, huge controversy. Really. If you ask different people sitting next to you, what's it mean to bear fruit? Well, that means this to somebody, and it means something else to somebody else. And okay, well, let's use some biblical examples of fruit, like the fruit of the Spirit, one of my favorite passages. Remember in Galatians 22? You bear much fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. That's fruit, right? That's something that God bears in you if you remain in Jesus. People say, well, okay, but you know, apple trees produce apples. Christians are supposed to produce Christians. And then we get into evangelism, church growth, right? And sometimes we get stuck there. And we get that to be, hey, that's our focus. Well, if we are loving each other, if we are remaining in Jesus, there will be people who want to have Jesus as their Lord and Savior also. That's probably the reason that you decided to become a Christian, is because you saw something in somebody else's life and said, wow, but that's not what he's talking about there. If it is, then we would have to focus on church growth. And maybe we do need to focus some things on church growth, okay? We want our church to grow. We want people we know to know about Jesus, and we also, we want to make our budget. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I said that.
Amen.
Yeah. Seriously, guys, how many times have churches wanted to grow so they could make their budget? Or so they could build that new sanctuary? Or so they could put that new roof on? Is that what Jesus is talking about? No. No. Not at all. Not at all. Jesus says, you need to remain in me. And he said this to the 12. Well, there's 11 right there now because Judas is off somewhere. We don't know who else is there with him, but he said, you need to remain in me. You don't need to add a bunch of other things. You don't need to start a bunch of programs. You need to focus on remaining in me.